This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning from South Africa, everyone. We are just stopping to say good morning to our regular wildebeest herd who have just woken up, having an itch and a scratch here and there and getting ready for their day. So it's time for your sunrise safari, everyone. So buckle up. We're going to take you through the African bush. On the other side of the wildebeest herd is the glorious ball of gas that is commonly known as the sun, just popping itself out over the horizon away in the distance there. Beautiful, perfect morning. Not a cloud in the sky, just how I like it. My name is Lauren. I have Theo on camera today. And of course, the wildebeest over here will also be relishing that sunshine, getting ready to warm up after what I imagine has been a very cold night here in Djuma Game Reserve. And when I say chilly, this morning it's 12 degrees Celsius and 53 degrees Fahrenheit. So chilly for me, that's for sure. But this is your live safari, everyone. So welcome on board. Please do talk to us. We're interactive, so you can send in your comments and questions using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or you can use @FC on the YouTube chat stream and Twitch. We're very much looking forward to hearing from you. Coming to you from 5 different locations. And here in Djuma, well, the wildebeest are just starting their day. My plan is to head to the hyena den, as it always is. We spotted the cubs yesterday. All 3 are alive and well, but unfortunately, no adults. And if there's no adults, we just don't want to stay there. It's really important that we leave. So we go there, we search around for adults, but if they're not there, then we must leave. So that's my plan for today. Anna Marie, I agree. That rhymes. I'm a poet and I don't even know it. Yes, it's going to be a beautiful day. Yesterday was cloudy, overcast. I find those kind of days very difficult for my eyes to adjust. But there's not a cloud. Well, there's a few clouds. I lie. And that sun is popping up, so I think it's going to be glorious, which is wonderful. We heard a leopard soaring near camp at around 5:30. Female. Possibly Tlalamba, but these days you never know. It could also be Shudulu as well. So I just want to point out the calves for you quickly because they're very difficult to distinguish from the adults. This one that's itching, that is one of the calves. Can you believe it? They're so big now, they're very difficult to tell apart from the adults. So I'm going to let these wildebeest be and head on to the hyena den.
How awesome is that? Some describe it as a sun sandwich. I just think it's beautiful. Ah, Gert, we love you in the morning. This is quite the scene. I just saw this sun rising up between the horizon and these clouds, and I thought this is probably the most beautiful sunrise I've seen in a long time, actually. But every sunrise is beautiful when you're here in Africa. And I must say, it's a rather warm morning comparatively to yesterday when it was incredibly windy and blustery. Welcome, my name is Mike. Behind the camera we've got Gert, and you're joining us here at Ecotraining's Pridelands Conservancy. And we're just waiting here on the Impala Plains to see if we can hear any sounds of animals. We were just driving here and we saw lots and lots of hyena tracks. But I wonder if we sit quietly we might just hear something happening around us. But look at that, dramatic skies with clouds. There's a steenbok with us also enjoying this gorgeous, gorgeous sunrise. I'm glad you all agree with me and Gert that this is a beautiful sunrise. A golden orb rising bronze in the sky. Oh, while we enjoy this, let's just sit quietly and take it in.
Good morning to all of our viewers and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. We've also just taken a moment to stop and listen and just take in this beautiful sunrise this morning. And it sure is pretty. It's amazing how fast the sun rises when it's so close to the horizon like this. And this beautiful silhouette of the tree has been just so picturesque, so we couldn't help but not stop. My name is Eric, and behind camera, as always, is Owen, and there's his thumb. And we are, this morning, on the search for those lions that URP had with you yesterday. And so we're very close towards where we have camp at the Ngala Tented Camp, which is actually just around the corner from that big tree. And it looks like the tracks of the lions are heading in this direction. So we thought the best thing to do is to check the river. If they continue moving today, there's a chance that they might cross out of Ngala, and so we might not be able to catch up to them. If that's the case, then we're going to stick towards the river, see if we can find any tracks or signs of leopard, and maybe do some really nice birding this morning. So if anyone has any target birds or any birds that they would like to see, so I'm going to be asking the viewers a question, and this will see where your loyalty lies. Apparently Mike from Pridelands also had a sunrise shot. We've got a sunrise shot, and so the only thing that we can possibly do is decide, or for you to decide, is who has the better sunrise this morning, whether it's us from And Beyond Ngala or Mike at Pridelands. So please send through all of the answers. We all know that it's going to be in Ngala, so I can probably save you the time and the effort. But please do send through your votes. Just look how, I mean, if I were to use a word or two words, it would be quintessentially Africa in the sunrise. Beautiful, stunning, amazing, much better than Pridelands. If you vote me, I'll try and find you lions. Oh, it seems like most viewers. Alan, you voting for Djuma? Sure. I don't even know what to say about that. They don't even have sun on Djuma, apparently. But apparently a couple of Pridelands are coming through, but it does sound like a lot of people are voting Ngala, which is perfect. And you are in the good books, which means that we can continue on with our safari this morning. And hopefully we can find all of the people that voted Ngala some nice, happy animals to show you. I just can't wait to see Mike's reaction when he gets told that the sunrise on Ngala is much better than Pridelands. Okay, let's continue. Yes, Vic, yes, that tree is beautiful, and we're still trying to work out what tree it is. We're undecided. We're actually going to drive straight past it now, but I think it might be a buffalo thorn. But it's 50-50 at the moment because there's not a lot of leaves on it, and usually they've got quite a thick, dense canopy. Yeah, I think it is a buffalo thorn. Yeah. Yeah, Vepa, it does look a little bit like a weeping willow, I guess, with those droopy branches. And this one is definitely a buffalo thorn. So they've got these small little round simple leaves, and then they're quite zigzagged in fashion at the very ends of their branches. So as we enjoy the most beautiful sunrise on Wild Earth this morning, we're going to continue and take it in.
Right, okay. Hello, everybody. Coffee, thanks, Orbs. I hope you're all very well and full of joy today. I, as you can see, am full of joy. My name is James Hendry. BK Bokomoso is on camera. There is his very fine thumb. And together we're going to go on a little morning safari. Well, you know that, of course, because you've been on morning safari for the last 10 minutes or so. Our plan for the day, and I'll tell you what Aubrey said to me now. Aubrey is a guide from the area, and he was talking to me on the radio. And we had leopard tracks and a leopard calling this morning, earlier, about 5:30. And now Aubrey's just found some lion tracks. So there's a lot of good prospect around, but as is so often the case, when there's a huge amount of activity just prior to going on drive, often grass is the only thing in the offing. Please send us any questions or comments you might have. It is Saturday morning here in South Africa, of course. Saturday evening in the Antipodes. Still Friday evening in the United States, I imagine. And Brazil and Chile. Bolivia. So we're just on the northern boundary now, seeing if we can pick up some tracks of whatever leopard was shouting its head off at about 5:30 this morning, about an hour ago. And obviously the leopard is on a territorial patrol. It's a female. We found her tracks. But an hour ago means that, you know, it's obviously some time since we saw her. What we do have, or since we heard her, what we do have in front of us is now a herd of impala. Let us ask them if they have seen a leopard. We will just prevail upon them to answer us in a language that we can vaguely understand. Good morning. Hello. I heard a leopard earlier. Did you? No, they really are very unforthcoming when it comes to speech. One of them's got a cough. Let's hope it is not a victim of COVID-19. They look happy as you like, or as happy as you can be, as the main menu item for just about all the large predators around here. pleasant, just quite quiet dawn chorus. Naturally, as I say that, the anti-poaching dog starts shouting. Very little sound. It's lovely. Sorry, Kirsten, yes, I can hear you now. Did she say something of importance, BK? Not? Yeah. Oh, they do, Stella, yes, they sound very velvety in the morning. They are velvety, and that's because of their piloerection, which is the standing up of the hair when it gets cold. Can be likened to goosebumps, apparently, or goose flesh. I'm avoiding the sunrise challenge, everybody, because firstly I was heading west and therefore didn't wish to trouble myself to turn the other way. And the reason I didn't want to trouble myself with it is that the sunrise here really wasn't a particularly special one. And I think that, as you'd seen too, there wasn't much of a challenge from this side. Right, I can hear nothing that might indicate the presence of a cat. And so I shall head on. I don't really mind that Ngala wins. I mean, I think Ngala wins a lot of things. I like Ngala very much. Cut my teeth there.
So it just so happens that while we were watching our sunset, we heard the crowned lapwing, and we came to investigate how the eggs are doing. And it looks like they're doing just fine. They've been well looked after and they've survived the windstorm. There's the rock that shows us where it is. And as we zoom in, oh, a little bit left there, Gert, just over there. There they are. There you go. Look at that. Still there, still 2 eggs. Another angle makes it look like there's just 1, but there are 2 there. Still nicely hidden in the sand. Or actually not hidden at all, quite out in the open, but well camouflaged. So they're still doing great. Can't wait to meet the 2 little chickies when they eventually hatch out of there. But in more important news, I've been hearing very distressing news. Very distressing results that perhaps Ngala's sunrise was better than ours. I'm sure there's been a mistake. I'm almost certain that there's must be internet connection issues. Maybe people are not able to register their votes. I'm not sure about that, but pretty sure that most of you did think that ours was better. It was a gorgeous sunrise, absolutely spectacular. You see, even FC says the counting system is flawed. There is. We will not step down. We will stand proud on our sunset. But if there was another beautiful sunset, Ngala does have some beautiful ones. I know very well myself, having been there for quite a few years. We're not going to go back to the sunrise. Well, maybe we can, but a bit later, once it's brightened up a bit more. Just like this lapwing is. Critter Freak, I agree with you. Fake news. It's fake news everywhere. It's influencing every part of our life, this fake news business. But I'm glad to see this lapwing. It looks a little bit cold. See how it's tucked its neck? Oh, it's going to sit on the nest. Sit on the nest. Do it. Oh, it's going to do it again. Shh. I'll be quiet. Oh, that's the cutest thing ever in the history of everything that's ever happened. Oh, I want to cuddle it. How cute was that? These soft little coos, and then it fluffed up its feathers, and then put itself on those eggs, keep them nice and warm. Oh, that's so gorgeous. I'm falling in love with this lapwing family. Elissa, that's a good question. What is the survival rate of the eggs? Being ground nesters, I suppose the survival rate is rather poor. It all depends on the parents, though. They've got some very, very good defensive strategies, from having the eggs very camouflaged to the lapwings display that they do, where they distract predators away from the nest by pretending to be injured or wounded, and also the bright colors as they walk away, those bright legs and the black and white on the wings and the head. So they have a lot of distraction displays. So maybe it depends on particular parents. First-time parents maybe not so good at keeping their eggs and chicks alive. Maybe very experienced parents, much better. But they usually lay 2 to 3 eggs. So the assumption is that at least some will probably die. That's why they lay extras, in order to have a better chance of raising at least one to adulthood. And it doesn't take long. It's only about a month before they fledge and can look after themselves independently of the parents. They might stay with the parents up to a year, but after a month, the adults don't have to look after them as much anymore. They are basically small versions of the adults. They can fly, they can do everything else. And so, as long as they can keep them alive for a month... Oh, it looks like it's going to fall asleep there. Its eyes are starting to slowly close. Man, this is the most calming thing I can think of in the morning. Just sitting with this cute little bird as it keeps its nest warm. I think it's doing a great job. It's a handsome bird, isn't it? So soft and smooth looking. Just see that orange knee sticking out at the back end of the bird there, as they've tucked their legs in. It's got very long legs, so it must be quite a mission to sit down and keep them tucked under the body, keep them nice and warm.
We're just quickly getting into a position here where we can look at the sun, which is shining upon a giraffe. Hello! He's looking at some zebra, which have gone off towards the left, so quite a lot of activity up here on the northern boundary. Sounds like he's got a bit of an arthritic knee clicking away. He's also being particularly irritating by standing behind all the bushes. Let me go forward again. He's having some breakfast now. Colours very attractive in the sun. But again, he has decided to get behind some sticks. No, you're absolutely right, JT. You say no animals are acknowledging me this morning. This one is acknowledging me, but he's being really irritating, because every time I stop, he goes behind a pile of sticks. Couple of zebra, as I was saying, in front of us, giving each other some trouble. Hello, Damon Nice. Giraffes sleep either standing up or by lying down and folding their legs underneath them, and they keep their heads up, but they don't sleep for a long time. And in fact, in captivity, they've been recorded sleeping for only half an hour a day sometimes. I imagine that their brains probably shut off six times to allow them to rest, but well, I'm assuming you sleep. would seem that the zebra pals that this fellow has don't really want to be very pally with him. Oh, that's nice colour now. Franklin's calling in the background. A couple of doves. Hoop-hoos. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Go ahead, Orbs. I'm just on the Gander radio. Just listening to Aubrey telling me that the Nkuhuma Pride he reckons are still on Djuma, which is great. Okay, copy that. I'll come down there and give you a hand. Right, let's move along. It's very pleasant. Oh, there are 2 giraffes here. And some zebra. Good morning, zebra. Yes. Cynthia, nobody knows entirely for sure, but probably around about 20 years, if they're lucky. Most of the records you have of longevity of wild animals come from animals that have been kept in captivity. But it's, as I always say, it's almost impossible to follow a wild animal from the day it's born to the day it dies, especially if it's a non-territorial animal. And so, you know, and a long-lived non-territorial animal. So very few people have, there are very few accurate records. But potentially 20 years or so. It's got a nice representation there of the giraffe size compared with the zebra. Zebra's about, in horsey terms, probably about 14.5 hands high. Maybe 15 if it was a really big zebra. Vic, it's not really a question at all. It's a zebra, unless you're from the United States or from Canada, in which case it's a zebra. I don't think they really mind what they're called. It is one of the aluminum and aluminium discussions. Neither is necessarily right. In fact, both are wrong, believe it or not, for aluminium. Alumium is the correct term, nobody uses. Anyway, it's just a quirk of which side of the Atlantic you happen to be. Although I don't know if in Brazil they call them zebra or zebra. Probably something else. I don't know what a zebra is in Portuguese. You're still on the road for us, are you? That's very kind of you. Almost tempted to take a camera out. Nancy, you say you would prefer the term disco pony to refer to Equus quagga. Yes, I think that's fair enough. A disco pony. It's a pretty good word. Or term. Vika, there's a beautifully placed starling here. EJ, you say, what about hyena versus hyena? Is that like a tomato-tomato question? Potato-potato? Say it again, Kirsten. Sorry, I'm really failing to hear the difference. Oh, with the extra H, yes. Now that is definitely, there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to say hyena. There is only one H in the word hyena. It is not a hyena. A lot of people I know are unable not to add an extra H into the word hyena. There are actually two spellings for it as well. One with an A and one without. So Hyena is the sort of, I guess, British spelling, if you like. And then the American spelling leaves out the first A. Hyena. Again, I feel that there are many things in the world that we should worry about of greater import than those sorts of things. It is very interesting, though, how our language changes in line with usage. What a glorious morning. GM, I think you're probably going to get a dad joke award for that one. You say that a hyena on Kilimanjaro would be a hyena. Also a hyena, I suppose, who'd found itself a mushroom it shouldn't have eaten might be called a hyena. Can hear a bearded woodpecker going tick, 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 tick. There's an answering tap. Two different tones, it's quite cool. The one on the left going perfectly on cue, then the one on the right. No, that's the same one. There, that was the one on the right.
Lions.
Yeah. Lions calling. At least 150 miles away. Many of you saying you love woodpeckers. I love woodpeckers too. They're one of those birds that when you look at them carefully, they are complicatedly feathered. They've got lots of different interesting colours when you look at them carefully. And obviously they have lots of adaptations which are just fantastic. Those chaps are eating a green thorn tree. It's extremely pleasant just sitting here letting the sun warm us. The dawn break around us. No, Jackie, I'm afraid male giraffe, like almost all male mammals, make very little effort to do anything that might benefit their youngsters. And in fact, in the case of giraffe, it probably even less so than something like a lion, which at least provides indirect protection. A giraffe male will have absolutely nothing to do with his calves. Once he has delivered the package of DNA into the would-be mother, that is the end of his involvement. Whether or not he recognizes his offspring, I don't know. It's possible. It's always so interesting to discuss because, as we have discussed many times, and normally around Father's Day, people are always looking for examples of mammal fathers that mirror our own kind of dedicated human, or the ideal of a dedicated human father. And there are almost none. There are lots of birds that have extremely dedicated daddies, but with the mammals we are almost unique. Beautiful birds you can hear calling. Drongos, crested francolins, doves. Sneak closer to these giraffes. No further leopard tracks at all. Please continue your eating. Don't mind us. Such a bizarre creature, isn't it? I mean, imagine the first human being who saw a giraffe. Must have been very shocked. Likewise, I suppose people who've never seen a giraffe before, not even in a picture book, if they come to Africa and clap eyes on one of these things, they're just so incongruous. There are no similar species found anywhere else in the world. You know, if you see an impala or a kudu or a nyala or something like that, they just look like a deer. But this sort of thing is just bizarre. Yeah, Danny, there definitely are some examples of male mammals that make an effort with their youngsters, and as you point out, often the dogs are pretty dedicated. Wild dogs, jackals, yeah, very good examples. Foxes, or some fox species certainly. But I'm afraid the proportion is very low. Well, I'm not afraid, I mean it's how evolution has made it. It works for those particular species. So yes, there are some examples of male mammals that are dedicated parents, but the vast majority are not. If I think of the mammals out here, I have no idea about the bats. I don't know if the bats, which make up a large proportion of the mammal diversity, I don't know what their role in parenting is. but all of the antelope, the giraffe, the predators other than the canids, which is a very good point. I don't think the murids, certainly not the rodents like the squirrels, and play no role, the males. Often it's indirect though, like with leopards or lions, where their job isn't so much to mentor and provide food for their youngsters, but to provide protection of the territory so that marauding males don't come in and kill their own offspring. And apparently the green thorn is now no longer a tasty morsel. Surely I would find a leopard if I was that tall. Beautiful shiny coat. He's in rude health, that fellow. Something also about a grey sky that's got light mixed in with it. It's very appealing, colour-wise.
Sadly, the hyena den was not active. Nobody. It's cold. Everyone's tucked up inside, snoozing happily. It's becoming rather frustrating for me. As you know, I am a huge hyena fan, and not being able to catch up with the Juma clan, it's very frustrating. I'm probably visiting the den twice a drive, the start and the end, and I'm not getting lucky with adults. I'm getting lucky with cubs. The cubs are there, but not the adults. So it's very, very frustrating, I'm afraid. But anyway, I will keep trying. I'm a Libra, so I'm extremely stubborn. And balanced. Very well balanced, but stubborn. And I will not give up. Oh, cursed, you will have to ask that question one more time. I apologize. Let's try one more time. I got it. Bats, Kyra, I do not know. Sorry, I do not know all the species of bats, I'm afraid. We don't see bats too often here. They are around, but they tend to be nocturnal. So they come out after drive has wrapped, and you can see them on the dam cam. Quite often, actually. But unfortunately, I do not know the species, if that's what you are asking, Kyra. I will have to do my research on bat species. I used to do a lot of work with bats in Maldives. They have fruit bats there, the big ones, and they are diurnal. So you see them all throughout the day, and it's quite bizarre lying on a beach watching the bats fly above your head. And we had to rescue many. Sometimes the offspring are abandoned, or you find them on the ground, they've dropped from the floor. And we had to rescue them, rehabilitate them, feed them, and then set them free. So I did a lot of work on bats out there, but sadly I do not know the South African species, I'm afraid. Okay, let's see if there's any tracks here. Nada. Many of you messaged me about Tandy's kill. We don't know what happened, I'm afraid. We don't have the answers. We left when Tandy was up the tree with the duiker. So we're assuming that she either dropped it or tried to relocate to a better tree and lost it. But that's an assumption. We do not know what happened, I'm afraid. But there was no sign of Tandy, and there was no sign of a carcass anywhere in that area. Both James and I checked. So I'm sorry, I also don't have the answers to that question for you. Aaron, you're saying there's 9 species of bats in South Africa. Thank you. I will go and research that and learn all the species. There's a little duiker up there, but I'm not sure we're going to be able... Oh, no, off it goes. Duiker means to dive, and they get their name from constantly diving away from anything and anyone that comes. But yesterday's duiker was not so lucky, I'm afraid. Didn't dive away from Tandy, and it was a boy. I don't know why I thought it was a female to start with. I thought it was very, very large. I assumed it was female, but as I look at my photos, I can see tiny little horns. It was a male after all. So I'm going to keep bumbling south and see what I can find.
Welcome back to the best sunrise on Wild Earth on Ngala. We are still driving along the river, so instead of driving in it, we've decided to hop onto the bank and drive slowly in the opposite direction to where we first had you this morning. And the reason being is that we had leopard tracks literally maybe 100 meters behind us, roughly walking in this direction. So I'm just taking it nice and slow and making sure we try not to miss any tracks. And we were just discussing now how windy it's been in the last couple of days, which blows and basically just clears the road of any old tracks. And so it's like this beautiful fresh canvas that we get to look at tracks on, and it does make it quite easy, because then you can really distinguish between the older tracks of a couple of days ago and the very nice fresh tracks once the wind has died down, which was sometime yesterday evening. So it's always good just to take it nice and slow. And I mean, we're also looking for... Oh, there's a nice little bird calling. This is a super tricky one to find though, but I'll see if you can hear it. It's called a southern boo-boo. It was calling off to the left of us, and it was quite a distinctive whistle. And as I want to show you, it stopped calling, obviously. No, it's not going to call again, and probably as I start up the engine, I think it will probably continue calling. But it does sound like the birds are quite active this morning. There's a little sunbird chittering away on the right, a little ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. And a couple of robins singing. Okay, yeah, so that southern boo-boo is not calling again, so I think we'll continue down the road. It's one of those ones that you always hear. You hear a lot at least. And it never really shows itself. It's a very secretive little bird. Speaking of birds, there's a couple on the road. So return trip, the closest that we get to hummingbirds is a family of birds called sunbirds. And so they've got a very similar shaped bill. They're just a little bit bigger usually, but also very beautifully colored with lots of colors on it. Blacks and reds and greens and purples. And the bird on the road there. So that's just a little dub in the road. We'll continue on and hopefully find some tracks of some leopard.
Everyone, we've came across a male giraffe that we had a few days ago. Now I'm warning you all, if you're slightly squeamish and disturbed, this might be quite graphic. The reason I'm stopping is because I want to know what's wrong. I didn't get a good enough view last time, but something's very, very wrong with this giraffe's eye. He also has huge lesions on his leg, but we'll show you that later. and it's not pleasant. So there's a big bump on his head. It's quite normal for giraffes to get bumps, male giraffes, on their head. They get quite knobby, shall we say. I do not know if that is the correct term, as they get older. I think this is a very old bull, really dark patches, so he's dominant, and this eye is just so disturbing. Many of you asked me what's happened. Well, I don't know. I can only speculate. I wonder if he's been battling with another male because he's dominant. He's higher up in the sort of hierarchy. And it's been an injury from an ossicone. He's going to turn in just a moment. It's his left eye. You see, there's a few knobs all the way. Oh no, don't turn around. Oh. I don't know if he's been injured by another giraffe's ossicone going straight into his eye socket, or some of you suggested a cyst. I won't have a we did just have a proper look at that as well. Shame. I don't think we're going to get another view, I'm afraid. Off he goes. But at least we know he's alive, but that injury is very severe, in my opinion. Michelle, it must hurt. Animals do feel pain. Even the most basic animals, in terms of the sort of nervous system, the most basic level animals feel both pleasure and pain. So yes, Michelle, I agree, it must hurt, but now we've completely lost views, I'm afraid. It's very severe. Makes me feel sad to see an animal suffering. Didn't catch that name, but I didn't notice a limp. He has severe lesions on his legs, and I don't know if that's some sort of, Auntie Christine. I don't know if that is from the skin disease or if it's from the papillomavirus, which is very, very common. We discussed that the other day. I wanted to get a proper look at it, but sadly this individual is not going to let us. I'll try and edge forward, but this is exactly where we found him the other day, Twin Dams. So I wonder if we'll just start seeing him again. I just wanted a closer look at his injuries, but it's not going to happen, I'm afraid. Giraffe skin disease and papillomavirus is very common in giraffes, really, really common. So I don't think he was limping, Aunt Christine, but I'm actually not sure. Giraffes have a strange walk. They have that camel-like walk where they move both legs on the left together, then the right. It's not separately like your antelope. It's not opposites. It's on the same side. And that's to help them balance because they've got such large, strangely shaped bodies. It's also where their Latin name comes from. And I think he's gone. I'll keep looking out for him, actually, just so we can keep an eye on his injuries. Sanchi, you're asking, would humans intervene for a giraffe? Tricky question. That's why I wanted to have a look, actually. I really wanted to get a close zoom shot into his eye to see what the cause is, or if we can sort of gauge what has possibly happened. The rule we have here in the Sabi Sands is we tend to not intervene if it's naturally caused. If it's a wound from battle or mange, even white muscle disease, any giraffe skin disease, or an attack, if a hyena's attacked another hyena, we tend to not intervene because that's nature, and you must let nature play out. This is a natural ecosystem that in my eyes humans are just visiting. We're all just visiting, me driving and all of you guys on board. So it's important for us to let nature take place. Diseases occur in order to control populations. There needs to be a top-down factor other than apex predators to control all populations. Elephants, lions, herbivores. It's really important, and disease is one of those things that needs to play out, I'm afraid, as sad as it is for us to see. Injuries will happen. Males battle, even females fight. We can't intervene every single time there's an injury, or we would be messing with the natural balance. But when humans come into play, that's what's different. animal has a snare, or some sort of injury, maybe from a vehicle hitting it, or any wound that could have possibly been caused by human presence here, maybe litter, something wrapped around its neck, then yes, we would intervene, because that would never have happened otherwise if humans were not here. So it's a sort of long process where decisions are really taken into place. If humans darted every single animal that had an injury, that's not sustainable, that's not good practice. So that's why I wanted to have a little look. But I think it's the giraffe's injury, I'm guessing, is possibly caused by another male's ossicone coming into his face. But I could be wrong. Let's keep our eye out for this giraffe. Every time I come to this area, we're going to look for this male and see if we can get a better look. Sir 50 again, I don't know, it's speculation. I can't really gauge. Every time we see this giraffe, it's been with Theo both times, I think, we're struggling to get a good view, a really close-up view of the eye. I don't even know if the actual eyeball is there. At first I thought it was, and then at first I thought it's not. But it could be fatal, Sir 50, it could be. If it's really... Kirsten's saying she saw the eyeball yesterday. Okay, that helps. We're far away and I only have this small little monitor. But okay, the eyeballs may be there. Oh, Kirsten's saying it doesn't look good. I doubt the giraffe will be able to see out of that eye. But if it's a huge open wound and infection starts, then yes, it could be fatal. It really could be. If he's an older bull as well, which I think he is, he could be weaker, maybe not in his prime, maybe not as strong as he should be. But I'll keep looking. I've seen him twice now. I think I've actually seen him 3 times, so I'll keep looking. His leg's fine, it's just a natural lesion, but the eyeball's not fine. So we'll definitely keep an eye out. Hopefully it's not fatal, but it's a big wound. And the oxpeckers are what I'm worried about. Giraffes normally have a lot of red-billed oxpeckers on them, and these oxpeckers come for blood, so they could potentially be pecking, spreading any sort of disease and keeping the wound open, which would promote infection. The oxpeckers are not entirely as innocent as we first thought they were long ago. I remember the day I found Hukamuri like that, and everyone went into mass panic. It was quite clear from day one that Hukamuri would never regain his sight, but it wasn't the same sort of injury. But yes, you're right, let's stay positive. Oh, we've got some elephants over here. Okay, I'm going to go the long way in and spend some time with the elephants. But yes, Hukamuri's injury was different. It didn't have this sort of huge open wound. But let's stay positive for this male giraffe. So I'm going to head round and catch up with these elephants.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
That giraffe is probably going to be just fine. We're just driving along this higher rocky road on our way to Leopard Dam just to see if there's anything around. It's been really interesting. We've seen hyena tracks everywhere. It's like there's a block party going on and they're just partying all over this place. I wonder if all the predators like leopards and lions have made kills during that very windy night, and the hyenas are busy, moving around between them. But as of yet, no larger predator tracks, no leopard and lion tracks. But I wanted to actually just follow up on that question about the lapwing's eggs surviving. How often do they survive? I think it was Alyssa that asked that. And if you're still listening, I did a little bit of reading, and there was a study done in KwaZulu-Natal on a golf course. Some lapwings were nesting there, and over 15 years, they had a 27% success rate. That's pretty good. 27% success rate? Not bad at all. Oh, there's a little piece of hyena evidence. It's not fresh. Oh, but there's a really cool jackal sighting, so what I'm going to do is send you over there.
We've got 2 jackal here. I just turned the corner to come to the elephants. We've got 2 jackal. The other one's far off. Let's stay on this one, Theo. Amazing. I've not seen jackal in a very long time. Part of the Canidae family, one of the families that I'm studying at the minute. Jackals can be quite skittish. Oh, there you go. There's the 2 of them. I'm just trying to think if we can reposition a little bit. I don't want to scare them. They can be really skittish. There's 2 side striped jackals. We also get the black-backed here as well. But side stripes are most common. They're part of the dog-like family, Canidae. Their lineage is very interesting, stemming from the wolf, the grey wolf. Okay, I'm going to attempt to get better views. This could be risky. Big bushy tail, almost like a fox. Very similar looking to the Ethiopian wolf, actually, and closely related as part of the same family. Okay, let's do this. Very small though, much smaller than an African wild dog and a hyena, of course. Ah, they're jumping off. There you go, Theo, there's your moment. They're running. Okay, so nice to see 2 of them together. They're very common in the Masai Mara jackals, but not so common out here in Djuma. We don't always have good sightings of jackals. Oh, James Richard, you're saying your morning has been made. I'm so glad. You love jackals. You love the dog family, actually, the Canidae family, don't you? Wild dogs too. It's been a while since we've had a wild dog sighting. Now, although the black-back and the side stripe have we lost views of them, are very closely related, very similar species. They actually prefer different habitats. So the black-back is smaller, marginally, and they like large open plains, whereas the side stripe actually prefer woodland area and shrubs area, which is exactly what we're in right now. And this is the jackals from Chitwa. We might actually be able to catch them. We've got an elephant over here, but we're going to come back to the elephant. Let's see if we can get another view of these jackals for you. How exciting! Now the grass is still quite long here. You see them? Ah, yes, okay. It's exactly where I thought they were going to go. They're going to cross. We're going to catch them. Hey, there we go. They're going to cross onto Chitwa. There we go. Can you see it? Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, the other one should be full. Oh. Yes, they're going on to Chitwa just as I knew they would. We'll try and follow them for as long as we can. Now I'm just checking my book here in case you wonder what I'm doing for the actual size difference between the black back and the side striped. But I only have information about the black back here. But the black backs are smaller, but I don't think it's massively so. Sorry, Kirsten, I'm not kidding you today. I don't think I've had enough coffee. I wonder if we'll get another view. Ah, they look fluffier. Yes, they are bigger, for sure, and fluffier. I believe you. I'm going to show you a photo of a blackback in just a moment in the book. If we've completely lost them, I'll get my book out so I'll show you a photo of what the blackbacks look like. They have a black back, and they don't have a side stripe. I'm really good at that. Can you see them, Theo? Yeah, they went deep into Chitwa. Okay, let me just show you this image. Now this is a black back for you, so we'll just go into this image. So they're very similar looking, very fox-like, but you can see there's no side stripe, that side sort of stripe that runs there. They don't have it, the black backs, and they are smaller. But by how much, I'm really not sure. I'll check that out for you. I don't think it's a lot. But I agree with you, Chris. They're not as fluffy. Their hair's not as long. Their tail's still bushy. But they're definitely not as fluffy. Okay. That was a really fantastic and surprising sighting. Yeah. Now I'm going to go back to the elephants, I promise. I don't think they will have moved much. Well, hopefully they've not moved too much. Ah, I can see them. Off to the elephants we go.
We are hoping to get lucky with the Nkuhuma Pride. Aubrey is in this block over here. Aubrey's a guide from Djuma. He says the tracks are heading down this way, but I can't find any tracks. And so hopefully the lions are still in the block here. But it is difficult to say exactly what is going on. It's also pretty chilly still, so the lions could easily be moving. So we're just keeping our eyes stuck to the ground, listening, not really smelling, because I can't smell lions. Angel Baby, do the guides live in the bush during the week? Yes, the guides do. There was a duiker there, BK. Unfortunately, it's had children already. The guides definitely live in the bush during the week. We guide during the week. We do this every day. I mean, we don't live in a sort of tented situation. We live in a nice camp that has got running water and a chef, but we do live out here. It's one of the great joys. There is no traffic to get to work.
Got a silhouette of some birds here, which of course are all going to fly off now. I just wanted to know, what birds do you think those are? Which birds occur in huge flocks, especially starting to congregate at this time of year? There was a lot more of them. There were about, I don't know, over 100 of them sitting in that tree. They were just sunning themselves, and now they've all moved off, probably to feed on some of the seeds around these grassy areas. What birds do you think those were? I'll leave that up to you. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is keep driving up this rocky hillside. We're looking for the places where predators might stash their kills to keep them safe from hyenas that were roving around. Indigo girl, you got it. Quelias, red-billed Quelias to be precise. There are lots of them at the moment. We've seen them in bigger and bigger flocks. Well done. I consider myself a bit of a bird nerd, so anyone else who likes birds has got big points in my book. But yeah, so we're looking in these rocky areas all around here, because if there were leopards hunting last night or during the windy periods, this is where they would probably do their best hunting, coming from these rocks over here, down into the plains, hunting, and then taking their kills back where they can stash them. And we haven't seen Pixie Pan female for a while. She was perhaps spotted yesterday. Was it yesterday or was it the day before? Day before, I think. They just saw a leopard cub run across the road. Some people coming into Pride Lands. We did follow up, but we had no luck, unfortunately. But she could be around. She's moving a lot, if it is her. She was first seen close to Leopard Dam, near these rocky areas. Then she moved all the way to the south of the reserve. And then she's now moving to the sort of west. So it's very interesting that, her territory might be quite large. We know that this area has quite a few leopards, although not as relaxed as, say, Djuma. So we don't see them as often, but we see their tracks and signs all the time. And so maybe she's constantly on the move to try and avoid other leopards, because her youngsters are very small. But we're hoping that we'll find her again in not too long a time. And I mean, this windy period we had is the perfect time to hopefully find a predator on a carcass, because we know that that's when they do their best hunting. Yes! So many of you are bird nerds. I love it. Oh dear. Now look what we've got. We've got a blockage. So, I'm going to have to clear this because I don't want to go round. The more times you go around things like this, the more time we go around things like this, when we're in a rush and stuff like that, we end up creating a road that goes around them. So the best thing to do when you're in the bush is just to take the time to clear an obstruction, which is what I'm going to do right now. So we'll see you soon.
We're just watching this male elephant here snap his way. It's incredible. Trying to get the grasses underneath this fallen tree. No obstacle is too large for a male elephant. I did some research just quickly, and it's marginal. It's really marginal, the difference between the side stripe and the black bag. The side stripe is definitely bigger, but it's really not by much. It's slightly heavier as well. It's got more body mass behind it, but not much. Trust Photography, you are asking about elephant taste buds. I've actually been asked this before, and it's fascinating because yes, they do have taste buds. Now, an interesting sort of thought is that all animals must eat. No matter what it is that you eat, you must eat. It's a biological instinct to feed. And it also gives a lot of pleasure. I get a lot of pleasure from eating, especially chocolate. And we all do. Animals also do. So it's
Use my feed. Hi everybody, I hope our feed also lasts where we are. It can get a little dodgy in this particular area. Not sure why it is that we lost Lauren. Maybe so, no updates on the world of lion. Let's go back to Lauren.
sorry about that, don't know what happened earlier, but we're back. And yes, elephants do have taste buds, they absolutely do. They have really long tongues, big tongues, because they have a large mouth.
Aubrey, you feel like Aubrey?
Oh, hello James. Just going to turn them down. No offense. And they have a really good sense of taste. And why is that? They need to be able to discriminate what it is they're eating. They need to know, is this nutritious and delicious? Is this palatable? Is this not? And in order to feed and maintain their diet as bulk feeders, they need to be able to tell what it is they're eating. And how do they do that? They do that through taste buds. So yes, I don't know how many taste buds they have, but they absolutely do. And what I was saying earlier is that every organism must have a driving force to feed. They must be able to taste whatever it is they're eating. So whether it's chocolate or whether it's a delicious impala or algae in the ocean or grass, all animals must have taste buds. They must derive pleasure from it in order to want to do it again. And that's how sort of organisms feed out here, because they enjoy it. And believe it or not, the catfish, yes, the ones with the barbels that you actually do find in the dams here, they're said to have one of the best senses of taste in the animal kingdom. They have around, I'm sure it's around 10,000 taste buds. Wowza. And no, humans have 10,000 taste buds, sorry. A catfish actually has 100,000, sorry. 100,000 taste buds, which is a lot more than humans do. So if you think how we taste at 10,000 taste buds, and all these delicious things that we can sort of enjoy through our palate, can you imagine being a catfish having 10,000 taste buds? There's a debate that some species have more than, 100,000. I don't know why I keep saying 10. There's a debate that some species have more than 100,000, but I'm not sure that's been confirmed. So catfish are said to be one of the best tasters in the world. And I'm sure this elephant bull is thoroughly enjoying the taste of this grass that he's working his way through. Little boy. The skin is so rough and thick on an elephant that he won't feel that. If I crashed my head into this dead tree like that, it would hurt. I have no desire to crash my head into this tree. But for an elephant, it doesn't feel it at all. This must be the best grass in the entire area. And he wants it.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning from a beautiful day out here at Swala Kalahari. It is another blustery morning, the same as yesterday, but the marked difference between yesterday and today is there's so much more moisture in there. We've had low scudding clouds over the mountains. There was dew all over the game drive vehicle this morning and my own vehicle. And you can just smell this on the air, and you can see from the ripples on the water just how windy it actually is, and the dust that gets kicked up like that. So I think what we're going to do, David on camera, by the way, and my name is Dylan. And I think this morning we're not even going to go to the meerkats. Yesterday they came out so late because of this weather. Today's going to be no different. Rebecca is on to them, so I don't think there's anything to worry about there so far. And I think I'm just going to start moving south from here, see if we can pick up those goshawks. That sighting that we had yesterday of the leopard with the brown hyena was just off the charts. Incredible, and that's coming from me. I've been here a couple of years, and that still ranks as probably one of my best leopard sightings in the Kalahari. So I'm glad that you're able to join me for that, those of you who were. And yeah, it's just amazing having you with. Please enjoy this morning, enjoy today, ask us questions, get involved, and I know my colleagues down in the Lowveld, those areas, I'm sure they're going to be having some really, really good sightings as well. Megan was saying that sighting was amazing. No, that was truly, truly incredible. And just what I love about this is the completely different setting that you're seeing these animals in, as opposed to these other areas where we, traditionally see them, in riverbeds, walking on roads, climbing up and down trees. So, and also leopards and spotted hyenas a lot, So to see that interaction with the leopard brown hyena was just brilliant, and I'm glad we could share that. So we're going to start heading south from here. Maybe we can pick up those goshawks. I still really want to find you a goshawk nest. That is going to be a little bit more challenging, but anyway. There are still 9 ducklings, which is really good news. So things are looking up.
I also had the best leopard sighting yesterday with Miss Tandy. This bro's right in front of me. He walked right past a car. He's very, very gentle. I think this is a much older bull. You can gauge by the size. And you can also gauge from the behavior. Older bulls are wiser. They just seem to be able to control themselves a lot more than the younger bulls, especially in must. Must is not an easy time for a male elephant. Sometimes I feel slightly almost sorry for them. Their hormones are going crazy. Testosterone's on the rise, especially when it's new to a male elephant, when it first happens, around about 18 years old. I think it's a big shock for them. Their temporal glands swell at the side of their head, and I personally believe it can be quite painful for them. A swollen temporal gland, it must be really uncomfortable. And then, of course, it produces that stream that we see coming out of the side of their head. They all of a sudden feel so boisterous and strong, and maybe even a little bit aggressive from that severe increase in testosterone. So I think it takes a bull a long time to get used to that. They get their first must around 18 years. That's the average, and it comes in sort of short bouts, but the proper must starts around 25 years old. It's almost like a pseudo must to start with, which is quite normal in mammals. The elephant actually wasn't rubbing its eye with the grass, as many of you were asking. It was eating the grass, and then it was just touching his eye with the trunk. Didn't actually have grass in its trunk when it was touching the eye. I think he was just maybe moving something out the way, or giving it a little itch or a little scratch. They're very, very tactile with their trunk. They use the trunk for so many reasons, and I think he was just rubbing his eye. Oh, that's not a delightful smell, Mr. Elephant. Okay. He's very relaxed. We're not going to harass him though. We can get a good enough view from here. Definitely a boy, without a doubt. Tatiana, you're asking about smell. Now, an elephant in must has a very distinctive smell. My goodness, you really can't miss it. It's a difficult smell to describe, but this bull's not in must. So he just smells, well, he just did the toilet. I think that's what I got hit with. It smells very organic, like wet, moist, earthy vegetation smell. If you imagine walking through sort of a muddy forest or woodland after the rain, I think that's the best way to describe an elephant. Or at least his toilet. I think that's what I got hit with. They're not normally smelly animals. It's just when an elephant's in must, that smell is incredibly strong. I can smell it from miles away. It's a really pleasant smell. I love the smell of elephant dung. I really enjoy it, especially when it's burning. Oh, he's reaching up using the trunk. What a height advantage. The only real competitor in height next for the giraffe. Now going back to must, the testosterone in a bull elephant, an adult bull elephant can rise up to 60 times when an elephant bull is in must. That's a lot. You can imagine it's such a struggle for them. They've also been ousted from the herd that they sort of grew up in and knew so well. I often think about male elephants as having quite a tough time. Once they start to be kicked out, once the females tell them no more, it's time to go, I don't think it's easy for them. They will sometimes hang around with other bulls for company. Young bachelors, they enjoy wrestling with one another. And sometimes they're completely nomadic and on their own. Let's go a little bit closer. And once they get through all this, I think that's when they become a gentleman at about 40 years old. They know how to handle their bodies. They know how to handle must. Lani, the elephant diet is not too specific because they're bulk feeders. They're poor digesters, so therefore they eat in bulk to make up for the fact that they're not good at digesting. And generally speaking, depending on the area, so for example the Masai Mara will differ very differently from Djuma, but in Djuma they tend to eat about 80% grass during the summer, and it's a mixture of grasses, palatable ones of course, and 20% trees and shrubs. Now this is their summer diet. And what's tricky for an elephant is when they have to adapt to their winter diet, because normally winter is very, very harsh with little greenery around. This winter, I must add, is different. It's definitely been a pleasant winter for most of the animals out here. But in winter, it's the opposite. So it's normally 80% and above trees and shrubs, and only about 20% grasses, because the grass normally dries up and dies. So their diet differs seasonally, and you can actually also see that reflecting in their weight. So I am going to try and stay with this bull for as long as I can.
This is very exciting. We have managed to come across Tlalamba, the leopardess, gorgeous leopardess, and we came across her because we heard some kudu alarming, or nyala alarming, thought it was perhaps for the lions, popped down here and got lucky. Aubrey didn't think it was for the lions. Aubrey said, no, there's a leopard here somewhere. And so Aubrey can get half the credit, I think. Oh, marvellous. I don't know if any of you have never met her before, but if you haven't, this is the magnificent leopardess called Tlalamba, one of our favourites. I'm just going to wait here before we move any closer, just because I think she might be coming down here, and it's a very thick area. Phew, BK? That was lucky, wasn't it?
Yep.
Jackie, her face is very distinctive. I agree with you. You know, as far as I can see distinctions like that, most people recognize this cat immediately. And certainly Kirsten in the final control said immediately, Tlalamba. You'll probably find that, most of these leopards, if you look at them carefully, are pretty distinctive. But I am particularly poor at recognizing them. Thankfully she stood up as well, because if she hadn't stood up, well, I'm pretty sure I'd have driven straight past her. Alright, we can move a little bit forward now. I'm just going to help Aubrey get in here. Orbs, just keep coming south on the game path. And I think come round the eastern side of this termite mound. Is that alright there? Susan, I don't know if she's pregnant yet. I would think it possible, if not likely, and I don't know why it is that if she isn't, I'm not sure why she wouldn't have come into estrus yet. You know, it's past time, as they say. Ooh, what's she seen? What you got there, Tlalamba? So I'm not sure why she wouldn't be pregnant. Help Aubrey here. Lizzie, I doubt she's met her little brother, given that her mother is very unimpressed with having her around. I feel like Aubrey's got the wrong end of the stick here. Oh no, he's just hit hit a big stick. Just move. I think I'm going to have to move to get Aubrey a position in here. No, we won't. He's going on the other side. It should be fine. No, now she's moving. All right, now this cat is notoriously difficult to follow when she's moving off-road like this, but we're going to do our level best. No, White Lady Ewan, I don't think that she would pose a threat to Tundi's cub. I think she'd be, probably a relatively innocuous meeting. It does happen from time to time. It's not like Tundi will actively worry about that, I don't think. But Tundi will not be impressed if she finds this leopardess and she's with her cub. Tundi won't be impressed if she finds Tlalamba at all. They keep themselves very exclusively territory-wise. She's just gone through these thickets, and I must say I'm quite pleased that we've got another guide in this area to help us follow. You see her beat. Oh, there she is.
Well, I've decided to do a little bit of a geology masterclass. I'm joking, I'm not a master of geology, but I have found a very cool rock. Yesterday, actually, we found this rock when we were busy exploring and adventuring, looking for these lions. And I just happened to notice how smooth the rock was, and I went a bit closer, and I realized it was soapstone, or at least a type of soapstone. I don't know if you've seen soapstone before, but it's an amazing rock. It's usually occurring in places where the Earth's crust has subducted under, which is... the mountains behind me there, the Drakensberg mountain, is technically classed as a subduction zone, if I'm correct. So where the Earth's crust went under. But anyway, this soapstone here is incredible because it's so soft. It's one of the things that makes soapstone highly versatile and used often in carving, is because it's filled with something called talc, which has... on the mineral hardness scale, a value of 1, which is the lowest you can get. So if I show you just how soft this rock is, I'm just taking my Leatherman, and I can just literally scrape the rock off. You see that? And all this powdery material is very, very soft. And it can be used for a number of different purposes. Now, as you know, talcum powder is often used as an absorbent, so people often put it in their shoes and things, and and babies' nappies to keep them dry. And it can also be shaped. And it's got really, really good heat-resistant properties. So you can carve the stone into bricks and layers and use it in fireplaces and ovens and pizza ovens and all sorts of things. You can actually press this powder into shapes as well and fire it to make that shape hard. And I know that in many cultures they've used these for thousands of years for heating purposes, making heat lamps, oil lamps, making pots out of these things. I know the Vikings... literally carved these straight out of the rocks into bowls that they could use to put their foodstuffs into and to cook as well. So it's incredible stuff. It's really, really amazing. Gert and I were saying we were going to make something out of these. Nude Lion, you had some sort of comment, but I couldn't quite catch it. Maybe if you can repeat that again? Yes, that is another thing. So the reason why it's got good heat-resistant properties is because it's filled with silica. It's one of the minerals that's in there. And silica is quite toxic, so you don't want to breathe in this dust. There's very specific rules about how you can work with this stuff. We're out in a very well-ventilated area, so it's not a big problem. Maybe I should just wear my mask just in case. It's also good for the Rona. So, yes, the rock... soapstone, very cool. In southern Africa, there's a very, very famous soapstone carving, and those are the soapstone birds of the Great Zimbabwe Ruin. Those birds were carved out of soapstone. In many parts of Africa, when you drive around, you'll see people selling roadside curios, lots of different types of carvings, and these are predominantly made out of different types of soapstone. But super cool. Elizabeth, you want me to carve something out of this? Give me some time, give me a little while, and I'll see what I can do. I can't say that I was very, very... Oh, okay, you want me to do it right now? That's not going to happen. But I will definitely give it a go. And how about you give me till... What day is it today? What is it? Is it Monday? Tuesday? Saturday today. By Monday. Let's give me till Monday, and then I'll see if I can have carved something out of this rock. I was never very good at art at school. Oh, it's a leopard, that has to be. Why did I do a soapstone segment? Okay, cool, great. I'm going to basically make a soapstone carving of the Pixie Pan female. This was a great idea. I'm so glad I decided to do this. But anyway, it's a really cool rock. Don't see it too often, and I just wanted to show you because I think it's pretty much my favorite rock that I've seen so far. Well, I will see what I can do about this. But so let me just show you one way to identify this rock. Elizabeth, I'll try and see if I can carve an elephant. But if you look at this rock, I don't know why I picked it up now, I'm making life very difficult for Gert, but you can see that there's these shiny parts, right? And that's one of the ways we identify it out in nature, because when animals walk over it, when wind blows and dust blows over this rock, it actually creates these smooth patches all over it. So it's a really, really easily identifiable rock. Some of them are darker, some of them are lighter, but yes, it's actually super incredible. I don't know, have any of you seen soapstone before in a natural setting? I can't say that I've seen it anywhere other than here in this area, to be honest, and it's because I think it has a very specific way or place that it occurs. Very cool. Glad I could show you that, and also glad that I have to now carve things. Awesome. Okay.
This cat has been walking through some very, very thick stuff. Now she seems to be settling slightly. So let's try and move into a position where we can see her, and also where the guy behind us can see her. You're right. I'm just going to ease through this little area here. Stay with me, because if I go straight, I'm going to get right on top of her. And she's not, while she's a relaxed cat, she likes to keep just a little bit of distance if she's resting, in my experience. Yeah, that'll be good. I'll just move a little bit around here. How's that, BK? Is that alright? Whew. Annette, you say well done, thank you. I must confess that, as with most of the leopard tracking, certainly with my levels of skill, there's an enormous amount of blind luck involved. And the situation's no different. If she hadn't sat up, when she did sit up, we'd never have seen her. Yeah, Helen, for sure. Spending time around her will help keep her habituated. I'm not sure that she'd ever really be threatened by people, you know. There are a lot of leopards, for example, in the Kruger National Park, where it's obvious they've grown up around vehicles, but that they clearly, you know, they're not around anything like the concentration of cars that they are, or would be around in the Sabi Sands. And you know that they are habituated to vehicles because they don't react when they come across the cars on the tar roads, and they disappear into the bush, and they probably don't see vehicles for weeks or months at a time even. And so those sorts of leopards have grown up around cars, and they've never learnt a fear of them, if you know what I mean. Yes, Aqua, I think you may well be right that she gets her good looks from her father, Tingana. She doesn't look like her mum. And you say she reminds you of Hosana, who's a young male, not so young anymore. Can't believe I've just said that. He's approaching he's 4.5 now. And she is very similar in some respects to him, but she doesn't look like her mum. I agree. Whereas if you look at Kuchava, who's her sister, also daughter of Tandi, there's definitely a resemblance. I mean, they resemble each other in so much as they're all leopards, obviously.
So we're still in the riverbed, and we've got this really, really pretty little bird who's hunting at the moment. So it's a little bee eater. Quite an easy one to tell because it is just so colourful. That nice yellow throat and the green back. And so it's been hunting flying insects that have been hanging around and flying around that dead stick over there. So every now and again we'll see it fly up, it catches it, and then comes straight back onto the same perch. And now he's just turning to show us his front. And I think we might have enough light, and the light is facing in exactly the right direction, to just look at some of the finer colors that you see on these bee eaters. And on this little bee eater in particular, that black stripe that goes from its beak all the way down to its cheek. There you go, back to the same spot. There's just above that black stripe, there's a very, very thin little blue. It's just so beautiful. It's one of my favorite colors on the bee eater. And that yellow is also very, very striking. It looks like it's both feeding and also grooming itself. And it's just such a nice still morning. I'm sure it would have been quite cold in the last couple of days. So Lainey, they don't only eat bees, but it does form part of their diet. So it's pretty much all flying insects that they'll target. And I think one of the reasons why they might have been called bee eaters is they've got a very unique way of dealing with the bee's sting. And they're quite skilled at it, so they'll catch it. And to avoid getting stung by the bee, they'll grab it by its abdomen, and then on the branch that it's sitting on, or on a hard rock, it will basically just aggravate the sting until it comes off of the bee, and then the venom is gone, and then they'll be able to swallow the bee whole after that. And the whole family, I mean, we've got about 7 or 8 different bee eater species within southern Africa. We can find, I think, about 4 or 5 depending on the season here on Ngala. So we are waiting for the European bee eaters to return, and then the southern carmine bee eaters. So the little bee eater is a resident. We also sometimes see the white-fronted bee eater here. So those are the 4 main species that we find. There is another one, but it's quite a bit further away. So it seems like it's a pair of them. And they would probably look to find a nice spot to breed in along the banks of this river. So we'll see if we can show you the other one. It's on that dead log. So there's its partner, I would assume. And the 2 of them would burrow into the bank and create a small little hole. And then that's where they'll lay the eggs. Doing exactly the same. Grooming, cleaning itself, then on the odd occasion catching anything that comes past it. And one of the main reasons why we came to this this riverbed at least, was to look. Yeah, these bee eaters are very smart to take the sting out of the bees. and we came down into this area because we saw tracks of not only one leopard that we had tracks of a little bit earlier on, but quite a few. There, at least 2 or 3 of them on the road, walking up and down. And so we thought we would come down towards this riverbed to see if we don't have tracks. We don't have any more tracks, so we're going to go and check another different road to see if they're headed in that direction rather.
So here we have got magnificent Tlalamba. She hasn't moved much. She has alerted the attention, however, of some grey go-away birds, which are now starting to shout at her. I don't think she'll be here for too long. I think she'll start moving again. Yeah, I think those birds haven't seen her. I think they've probably seen an owl. Sounds like there's an owl in Tambweti thicket off to the right of us, while Tlalamba sleeps soundly. And now there are squirrels shouting. Hornbills. I think she's eaten something relatively recently. Actually, we can have a good look at her belly now and let's see if we think that there are small Tlalambas in there. Looks like a food belly to me. So if she was pregnant, what we'd see when she stood up, or if she was heavily pregnant, would be a real kind of sagging between the back legs. You might even be able to see some form of milk pouch. But to me, that belly of hers looks like it's just eaten something. Not big. Oof. And when you look closely at her coat, it is just beautiful. Gold and honey and black. It's a rather astonishing design, that. I mean, the design of the pelage.
So it's an incredibly windy day and very, very cold out here this morning. So we haven't had much joy in terms of like larger game and that. But we happened to spot this little sandgrouse. Now you'll remember we saw the same species yesterday just before we managed to get that unreal leopard and brown hyena sighting, and this is a double-banded sandgrouse. This is a male, so I would expect there to be a female somewhere in the close vicinity. I just can't spot her. They are incredibly well camouflaged. But it's just nice to see how this little guy's hunkering down on the ground with this wind. And what the other thing, remember I mentioned yesterday how the thing that really sets them apart from the Burchells and the macro sandgrasses, which are the other two species we get here, is that these ones only drink after sunrise and before and after sunset. So before sunrise and after sunset. But the other crazy thing about these birds is these ones only, on Swallow, only nest up in the mountains, in amongst the rocks. It's the only place we've ever found nests, and that's their preferred area out here. Whereas the other two species actually nest out in these flat areas where this one is sitting at the moment. So it just shows you all these weird and wonderful little adaptations. And again, I'm not, I mean, I love the adaptations of an animal. That's obviously fun. I'm really interested in how those adaptations came to be. In other words, how does that evolve? That you got three such similar species, but one has said, no ways, I'm going to be in the mountains, that's where I'm going to breed, and I'm only going to drink before sunrise and after sunset. And the others are like, no, we'll nest out here and we'll come in whenever we feel like it during the day. That is really, really interesting and very, very telling, because someone asked a question yesterday, in fact, about how do they evolve to be so camouflaged amongst these rocks? And we were talking about the leopard and that. And I love that kind of question, because it's about this. It's saying, well, if a breeding strategy works so well for this bird, like that, well, why don't they all just do that? Let's not get into philosophical debate here, because that's not what I'm here for. Even though I enjoy those debates. But yeah, no, it's just interesting to see the remarkable and the infinite diversity of adaptations that animals have out in these environments. So enjoy your coffee. I forgot mine this morning, so those who have, enjoy it.
Well, from one rather small bird to a much larger one, there's a grey heron just wading through the water looking for any frogs that might be disturbed, joined by another grey animal, a little vervet monkey. There are quite a few. You can see the reflections of others walking around there. There was a whole bunch of impalas that also came to drink. Oh, this is so nice to see two very different animals walking together at the edge of this waterhole. So that heron is walking very, very slowly. Yeah. The heron is walking very slowly. The monkeys are just looking for insects and shoots and flowers and whatever it is they can find. The heron is specifically looking for, insects, but mostly frogs at the moment, to be honest. You see how it stops every now and again, and what it'll do is they often use their feet to disturb things that are in the mud, and as those things move, the heron darts its very sharp beak in, and either pierces the prey with the beak, or just grips it in its bill. So let's see if it's successful this morning. Let's see if we can catch this heron hunting its first meal of the day. So Leia, it was a lovely sighting of the monkey drinking. They seem to only drink here at our waterhole when the impalas drink. So whenever the impalas come down, the monkeys also seem to come down. Never on their own, never by themselves. Oh, the heron's about to go behind this beautiful leadwood tree, so we might lose sight of it. Oh, there's also a giraffe coming down to drink. Oh, I don't know if it's going to come down and drink, but it's at the dam wall's edge. And they've already found some food. See that? Their food doesn't move around, which is quite nice. So it's much easier for the giraffe to find a meal. Two of them. They'll come down and drink as well. So often what happens is once one animal comes to the water's edge, many start to come down to the water's edge, because then they know there's more eyes and ears to spot the danger. Very well camouflaged amongst these trees and bushes, aren't they? And once again, those female giraffes showing that they often feed lower down. There's a lot of branches around their heads, but they're choosing to feed lower down. I don't know, that's maybe just a better quality food. It looks like a buffalo thorn, which we know is edible even for us. We can also eat buffalo thorns. They taste a bit like spicy rocket salad. Not unpleasant if you like spicy salads. And there's another female over there. She's eating, looks like a bush willow of some sort. Nowhere near as good, I'm almost certain of it. Looks very dry. What's interesting is when you watch these giraffes up close, especially the one eating the buffalo thorns are covered in very, very sharp spines and spikes. And when she feeds on it, she grips and then rips with her teeth and tough lips along the branch, collecting as many of the leaves as she can. Let's just see if she does it again. And that way she actually strips a whole branch of its leaves, but she must get quite a few thorns stuck in her lips too. And it can't be very nice, but we do know they have very thick, tough lips, specifically for that, to stop them from being hurt when they are feeding on these very, very spiny bushes. Joy is asking how many different species of heron occur in the Kruger National Park. It's a good question. I've never really counted them, but we get grey herons, Goliath herons, we might get occasional migrant herons, some of the egrets as well. There are 3 different species of egrets that can be found in the Kruger National Park: great white, intermediate, and cattle. And we also get some of the night herons, white-backed night heron, and also black-crowned night herons. There's quite a few, probably 5 or 6. Oh, did you see that in the water there? The heron's looking towards the splash there with hunger in its eyes, avarice. I'll just go and wade in there and get it. Stop being lazy. So the heron has flown from the other side of the dam, because obviously where it was, there was not a good hunting ground. And now a few more impala coming down. Oh, it's quite nice at the waterhole today. There's not too much, big, scary animals. But nice, steady flow, a trickle of animals down to our waterhole on this very still morning. I wonder if many animals might have stayed away from the water completely yesterday, with it being very cold, and also, their hearing and stuff impaired. They might have wanted to just stay in one place to be vigilant. But now that it's nice and still, you can see that glassy water having a beautiful reflection of all these impalas. Look as they come down, look how they stretch their necks down. There's an instinctive fear of the water. They could be something like a crocodile hiding there waiting to catch them. I don't think there are any crocodiles in this waterhole, but the impalas are always wary, ready to jump up at the slightest sign of any trouble. Look at them all. Before they drink, they all look around quickly, and then they come down and drink, just to make sure there's no predator close by to them. Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at them all lining up. What a beautiful sight.
Beautiful now. She's just perfectly positioned herself, turned round. Ah, now that is a quintessential leopard shot, is it not? But keep sitting up, my dear. No need for you to go to sleep. You've got all day to do that. Moondust, there is no easy answer to that question. There could be any number of fathers. Remember that leopards, females especially, well, only females, will often leave their territories to find males to mate with. And that's in some ways how they cuckold the males who own the territories in which they live. And so, in theory, she could have mated with Hukumuri, she could have mated with her father, Tingana, she could have mated with Molwati, she could have mated with Gijima if he's still around. Those are the sorts of options. But also complicating the issue is the fact that her territory lies pretty much, or the southwestern portion of her territory lies on the corner of those 3 leopards' territories. Now, Hukumuri hasn't been this far west for some time, as far as we're aware, so it really depends on when she got pregnant, if she was pregnant. Now, that is a big if, everyone. It's It's a big if. So if she's pregnant, the most likely candidates are Molwati or her father Tingana. Shocking as that may seem. Very Game of Thrones in many respects in this part of the world, because the royal family of Djuma leopards is, well, not free of incest, and nor do they have to be, because it's very frequent in the cats. I think all of us, given our human and very valid human kind of repulsion to incest, would be very happy if she'd been impregnated by Hukumuri or Molwati, rather.
Finally, everybody. Finally. This is what I've been waiting for. Miss Ribbon and her two little ones. A very peaceful moment. We've got Shimbulu on the left-hand side, and look at how long his legs are. They're getting so big, these little ones. Especially when you see them compared to Corky's tiny little one. This is, I've not seen Ribbon in quite a few days now. She's obviously off feeding, which sounds incredibly selfish, but there's a lot of reasons for that. One, of course, she needs to stay strong. She needs to eat. She needs to keep producing this nutritious milk that sustains these little cubs for so long. That's really important, otherwise they won't survive. And also, the cubs have to learn the lifestyle of feast or famine. Hyenas can go days without eating, as do most predators. So it's important that that's instilled in them at a very young age. Oh, many of you are happy to see Ribbon. Me too. I've been coming and getting frustrated, actually. Starting to pull my hair out. But here we have it. It's worth continually checking the den. I came earlier and no one was home, and I come now and look at this lovely scenario we have in front of us. Mama Ribrobs feeding her two naughty little monkeys. And in case any of you missed yesterday's, Corky's little one is inside. But remember, it's much smaller. It'll have a different sleep cycle, a different feeding pattern to this pair here. Flat Cat, you're saying something about the den? Oh, it must smell quite bad. I actually don't smell anything, but I completely understand why you're saying that. It's been a long time that the cubs have been in this particular den, which we call den number 3. And and there's another cub to add to the mix, so it's even busier than it was before. I just want to show you what they're all looking at right in front of us. I don't think we're going to get a very good view. It's two Impala. I can see one of them's a male. I can't see. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Alarm calls. Just spotted them. Impala, I don't know why you get a fright every single time. Ribbon got a fright and the two little ones got a fright. But don't worry, I'm going to sit here and they will be back out.
She's got a little steenbuck lying down over here. She's just tucked up out of the wind on the southern side of the bushes. This wind is pushing out of the north, which is crazy that it's so cold. But what I'm loving about what we're seeing is how this little steenbuck's got her ears flat like that. It's a little female. The male's got these two very, very sharp pointed horns. But to see this female with her ears back, it's actually a classic camouflage technique that they use to try and sort of break up their outline by putting the ears down like it. So it's very, very sweet. She's extremely reluctant to even try and move away from us, but she's got a good spot there. She's in a bit of sun, she's out of the wind, and that's exactly how she's going to conserve energy. And yet, it's just, again, it amazes me just how incredibly tough nature is. You know, we think from our perspective as our shame, well, if I was out there, I'd be so cold. These animals are just used to it. This is what they do. It's perfectly normal for them to have a freezing cold day, a scorching hot day. You know, in summer, you know, there she goes now. So that was classic, what we call freeze. Laura Boer says, it looks like a llama that was about to spit. That's very alarming. No, but anyway, that was classic freeze behavior, and not to do with the temperature, but just that lying dead still, ears back, thinking it hasn't been seen, or hoping that it hasn't been seen. So that was good to see. But my word, this wind is actually picking up now. I thought it would die, you know, it would go settle a bit. David, I don't know if you can swing around. It's not so, sorry, just bear with us for a second. I just want to show you these clouds starting to scud over the top of these hills over here. You'll see these clouds over there. And that's this big front that's coming in now. And that's why the temperature's dropping like it is.
Not much going on here, but we don't mind. We're in the presence of a leopard. Now, I'm rather hoping the cold front is finished here, but there's still a bit of a chilly breeze, and my parents down in the Eastern Cape report that it is freezing cold there today. And, well, if there's cold weather blowing in at Tshwalu, I suspect it's going to continue to be cold here for a little while. Woodpecker calling, or not calling, pecking just above us. Straight into the sun, I'm afraid, so we can't see it, but it's not the same species that we had before, because it's just making gentle tappings. Alright, let's go quickly over to Lauren.
Everybody's back out. The impala are still alarm calling. Who knows why, but Corky's little ones came out. Not gone near Ribbon. But I think this little one forgets how young it is and just always wants to be with the two older ones. Christian loves this little one, me too. It's very small. I'm still convinced it's younger than we first realised, and it's definitely smaller than Ribbon's pair at the same age, and that's just because its mom is a lower ranker, completely normal in the realm of hyenas. But the way that Ribbon's boys, Wazi and Shumbulu, are so tender with this little cub, they don't have to be. In the past I've witnessed male hyena cubs at the same age really not tolerating younger cubs and bullying them and exerting their dominance. But these two, they just don't do this with Corky Swan. Oh. And look at it, just watch it. Probably wishing Corky was here. Where's your mama? It's so sweet. And it's still at the age where it really doesn't leave the entrance to the dam. The den, sorry, not the dam. Not having a good day with my words today, am I? It's still very much restricted to that entrance hole. It's not brave enough yet. And I also think it's worth noting I've seen Ngwazi and Shimbulu fight and tussle, boys being boys, but the little one's calling for more.
Stations, any updates, please?
Now, I still firmly believe that Ngwazi, the one on the right, is the more dominant of the two, and Shimbulu, the one on the left, is a sort of more submissive one. But there's very little aggression between this pair. Very little. Normally in hyena cubs and twin litters, the aggression is incredible. It's a constant strive for dominance. Original, what an original question. Your question is, do all hyenas lie in their own urine or just Ribbon? Ribbon? Do you have anything to say for yourself? That's a no. I'm really not sure, but to be honest, I think they all do. Oh? They're fighting here. A little argument. I think all hyenas do. They are not so particular about their grooming as leopards are, or even lions. They are scavengers. They don't rely on stalking or sneaking up or ambushing. They just stroll through the bush with that catwalk swagger and follow scents. So to be honest, I think that hyenas really don't care. And I think they will probably all lie in their own urine, which is lovely. Oh, I don't quite know what gave the little one a fright there. The scenario in the hyena clan right now is just, it's so interesting. The lack of aggression between the youngsters. It's really obvious to me. And it has to be stemming from the adult's behavior. It has to be coming from Ribbon. I wonder if Ribbon's a better matriarch than we even realize. Can you all remember when we found this pair on the 27th of March? Look how much they've grown. Ribbon's pretending to pay attention here, but she's not. She's sleeping. Libby, you're asking how much longer will these cubs stay in the den for? I think that's what you're asking. Believe it, there's squittering. Squittering's a noise that only hyena cubs make. It's a wonderful noise, and I love that word, squitter. You're asking about drinking milk. Apologies. Believe it or not, they have such a long lactation period, hyenas, and the youngsters will drink mum's milk up to 18 months. Sometimes it can even go to 2 years. And that's because the milk is so... that's because the milk is so nutritious. Really rich in calcium, but also protein and also the fatty acids, all the real fats they need to grow. And all sorts of minerals. And that's why they will keep drinking mum's milk up to 18 months. A very long period. It's longer than the other predators. Oh, everyone's back out. And Ribbon would never hurt Corky's little one. That would not make any sense for the benefit of the clan. She also won't suckle the little one. They don't allow mother as lions do. But I would love to see that reaction. What would Ribbon do if this tiny little one approached her for milk? I'm not sure. Ribbon, please don't leave. If Ribbon leaves, that means we have to leave, everyone. But this is the longest sighting we've had in quite a while. If Ribbon stays and just wants to sleep over there, we can stay. Let's see what she does. Ribbon! Look at the cubs just waiting, looking. Where's Mom gone? She's still there, everyone, don't worry. And they're trying to be naughty and follow her. Oh, she's going to sleep down there. That's perfect. That means we don't have to leave. We're not going to have the best views, but Corky's little one is still out. I'm so in love with this little one. I just told Theo I've got like 1,000 photos on my camera, the same thing. I don't know why I keep taking more. So I'm going to sit here as long as I can. If Ribbon stays, I stays. If she goes, I go. And hopefully we'll get more interactions.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Yes, there's not a lot of interaction going on here, nor is there a great amount of movement. There've been a few jaw snaps at some flies, a few ear flicks also at some flies. And, well, that's about it, really. But Talambi is a leopard, and a leopard is what we came out to seek this morning, and so I think we'll probably hang around with her. What I'm going to do is just move the car slightly, BK, so that big stick is not in our way. Not quite sure why this car needed to make a loud noise like that. How's that, BK? Better. There we go. lift her head. She'll probably now get up and move into some impenetrable thick bush. Be quite nice to see her stand up, just so that we can maybe try and assess whether she's pregnant or not. I always find it quite entertaining because everybody's got different theories, and it's so nice to discuss the different ideas, and some of them really outlandish, but it's always good fun to debate and look at the evidence for various theories and ideas for what's going on with these animals. There we go. That's a nice picture of her. Always alert, even when sleeping. Nhlangula. Yeah, this is... Yeah, James Richards just mentioning a few other male leopards that could possibly have impregnated her. Motswiri is one of them. It's a good point. Gajima hasn't been seen on Buffelshoek for a long time, I don't think, or certainly not in the vicinity, but Motswiri is a good thought, James Richard. What about Nhlangula? Isn't that another one that's around, who I've never met? Yes, we just want you semi-alert, Tlalamba. That's it, with your eyes open. You don't have to get up and do flick-flacks, although, I mean, look, if you wanted to, you're welcome to do some flick-flacks for us. Oh, a little yawn. Exhaustion. If you ever want to hear camera shutters going off, just be in a sighting with cats and photographers, and as soon as any cat yawns, the firing off of shutters is actually quite intimidating. Oh, here we go. Not sure why she had to do that behind a bush. There it is. You can faintly hear those cameras going. All right, BK. You must take your dentures out. Here we go again. Animal is now mobile in a southerly direction, parallel with the Umlwamati. We're going to try and keep up. I'm just on the Game Drive radio there, trying to give an update.
Good luck, James. Following Tlalamba is, well, no easy task. Our little one's just waiting. My heart just cannot take any more of this. Ribbon's still snoozing, don't worry. Just exactly in the same spot. But our adventurers are exploring further and further than I have normally seen them go. Look at them. Little Shambulu here. It's almost like they've got Mum's permission to venture a little bit further and explore a whole new world. They are loving every minute of it. They're anal pasting, which is rather bizarre, or at least Ngwazi is. Scent marking at that young age. That you're asking, will the aggression grow as they get older? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. If you mean, will they become more aggressive? What you have to remember is, although they are Ribbon's offspring, they are also male. They are two little boys, as far as we can gauge. Oh, hello. You've just noticed a car. Are you going to come and chew on the tires? No, we're going to be good today. No tires today, I'm afraid, thank goodness. So yes, what we've got to remember is they're two boys. Now, in a hyena society, it's matriarchal, it's completely female dominated. The males are not only smaller in size and way less, they fall way down the pecking order. If you are a male, well, you always have to bow down to the females, even the low-ranking females. So even Corky is the low ranker. She will actually have some say over the males in the clan. Now, males do have a hierarchy, but it's ranked completely differently from the females because most males disperse. And when they disperse from their natal clan, they join a new clan and they become immigrant males. And normally how it works is the immigrant males that have been with the clan the longest, they show tenure. And that's the sort of, the longest you've been with the clan, the more preferred you are by the females. So tenure is very, very important. And also, there's an amazing study that says the less aggressive you are and the more submissive you are, the females will prefer you. So it's best if you're a male to just constantly be submissive, less aggressive, quiet, and just say yes. I think it's, well, yes, just say yes. Whatever the female wants goes. And the females show more preference towards 1, immigrant males, 2, submissive, less aggressive males, 3, tenure, the length of time with the clan, and 4, age. They show preference to male hyenas at the same age. So I don't think these boys are going to get more aggressive at all. I think they're going to live their life as males and eventually disperse at around 2 years old.
We found her again. She came down into the riverbed. We've had a wonderful experience with her sitting right next to us. Naturally, she now decided to move. She's giving a display to the photographers on the other vehicle. No idea what her plan is. She weaves around this cat. BK, you just tell me when you're ready. Ready. Got a horrible feeling both of us lost her for about 10 seconds, and that's all it takes in order to lose a leopard completely. Try and get up here. There we are. And this is how a lot of Tlalamba sightings go, where you get her for a few seconds and then you drive, and you hack, and you bash, and you do your best. Think we can get over that log, BK? Let's try. We did it. There she is. Ooh, that's nice. We got it. Yeah, Beverly, sorry, I missed that. Tlalamba has what feature of her mother's? Oh, she had the best teacher. Yeah, I suppose she did have that kind of teaching from her mother, but her mother's much easier to follow. Much easier. Oh, that's lovely. Come on, lie down there. Just on the edge of the cliff. How's your shot there, BK?
Perfect.
You're right. Okay, good. Grant, come up the Mulwati from junction Vulture's Nest with the Mulwati. That's going to be your best approach. Oops, foot slipping off the pedals. Yeah, Anna-Marie also, I mean, Karula did used to zigzag around a bit, but I still think that this cat is much more difficult to follow than any of our other relaxed leopards. Shidulu's quite difficult as well. He's busy. But both Thandi and Karula seem to, they move with a purpose. Beautiful with the background there, the sort of empty void below her. Judy H, there are guests on Djuma. South Africa has now allowed tourism within the province. I would be prepared to take pretty short odds that the guests on the back of that car are from this province, but they could well be. It's a totally ridiculous regulation they've made, that you're only allowed to travel within your own province. But yes, so in theory, the lodges are open for travel within their provinces. Go ahead. Now come north in the riverbed from there. Just trying to help the guy get in here. That's a nice shot of her, hey? Lovely, peaceful bird calls. Including that of the magnificent white-browed scrub robin. It's a little bit like her mother in this particular aspect. Oh dear. Yeah, Megan, it is. It's the best sighting I've had of Columba for a long time as well. Okay. Grant, she's up and moving again, moving east. She's now crossed, west. She's moved west out of the Mulwati. I think your best approach is still to come up the drainage line. Just trying to help another guy get in here.
Going back to the conversation about males, what young males generally leave the clan, it's a 97% against 3%, 97% disperse, 3% stay. So that's almost all males leave the clan. And by joining a new clan, It gives them a slightly elevated status because they're genetically vigorous. Clans need them. They need immigrant males over natal males. So they already earn a little bit of respect by joining a new clan because the females need them at the end of the day. They need the new genetics to come in to the new clan. But they will work hard in order to get sort of social favor from the females. They work very, very hard at it. It's not easy when an entire clan of females are growling at you and snapping at you and chasing you away. So they have to sort of, well, stick it out, really. Sometimes the males will just remain alone. They'll avoid the clan as long as possible if it becomes far too... Oh, what do we have here? Yummy! Some elephant dung. I can't think of anything more delicious. No, it wasn't that delicious. We popped it back down again. Oh, they've ran off. The little one's back out again though. It's like a yo-yo game here. This one's out, the other two are running away. No, we're back at the dung. Douglas, the alpha female is called the matriarch. It's a matriarchal society. And sorry, they've both got balls of dung in their mouth. I find that rather entertaining. Oh, someone's been brave. You go back inside. So the matriarch is recognized through behavior, through observations. So normally it's the largest of all the females because she's, well fed. And if you just sit and watch a clan, you'll see who's acting very, very dominant and who's acting more submissive. You'll be able to see that immediately in the clan hierarchy. So it's all through observations. Oh, now everyone's disappeared. Oh, no, we're back out again. I'll say Jack in the Box. So yes, if you just watch, there's dominant behaviors and there's submissive behaviors. You normally see which females are responding to which females and which females are really sort of being bullied. It's the lowest ranker. So you just have to spend a little bit of time watching. And obviously we know this clan very, very well. This little one's mother used to be the matriarch, Corky, and she was overthrown. So sadly, this little one's been born with the smallest silver spoon in its mouth, if it's even silver. And it's now the lowest ranker of the clan. We don't know its sex yet. It's a little bit too early to sort of go into that. But I hope it's a girl. Even if it's the lowest ranker, a girl would really make a difference to this small clan. If it's a boy... then it'll just disperse, and we need to wait on some of the other females having more girls. Now, when I say the males stick it out, this is actually called endurance rivalry in the animal kingdom. And it basically refers to the guy who can stick it out the longest, who can stick out the abuse will win. So that's why the males stick it out and stick it out, stick it out. Then they will eventually get accepted by the females, and they can form quite wonderful alliances with the females. The females will trust the males that have been around the clan the longest, and this is called endurance rivalry. This little one cannot see past the boundaries of the den. Cannot figure out where the other two have gone. Den must seem so daunting, that big termite mound. Vic, it could be a female. This little one could absolutely be a female. But is that why the other ones are being so tender with it? That's a tricky one to say. Possibly. Very possibly it could be that they would know she's female. Wouldn't that be so amazing? But I'm not sure. I wonder, a lot of the behaviour of the youngsters comes from, again, watching the mother. Postnatal maternal behaviour, and I wonder if it comes from Ribbon. It's a similar stories to Waffles in the Masai Mara, and I recently heard that Waffles is no longer with us, which breaks my heart, but she was such an icon. She was such a great matriarch, Waffles, and yeah, Kirsten's just heard this news. Yes, I know, it's so sad. I heard that Waffles is no longer around. But before she passed, she handed over the matriarchy to her granddaughter. So it's still very much the Waffles lineage that's ruling the North Clan. But Waffles was a low ranker and overthrew the matriarch. And I wonder if, because Ribbon was a low ranker, she's now at the top and she knows that, but I wonder if her behaviour towards the low rankers, exactly the same as Waffles, is kind, because that's where she used to be. And I wonder if that's what the cubs are picking up on. But I could be wrong. It could also be because she's female, or I guess it could be numerous factors, but studies on Waffles showed that she never ever forgot where she came from. She never forgot that she was a low ranker, one of the lowest, and even when she became the matriarch, she still formed alliances and remained close friends with the low rankers. And I just wonder if it's a similar scenario here with the Juma clan. I can't wait to find out the sex of this little one, I really can. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone's sad about Waffles. I know, I was devastated when I heard. But she was old, and she lived such a full hyena life. She's incredible, she's famous. Waffles is famous. And her legacy lives on. Her story is really, really incredible. And I wonder whether, is she a one-off, or are many female hyenas like Waffles living this incredible life? But I think that Soup is still the matriarch, and that's Waffles' granddaughter. Oh, double trouble incoming. Your friends are coming back, little one. Or are they? They're hesitant to come back to the den because they've got a new lease of freedom from Mom. Mum's allowing them to push the boundaries. All the new smells, all the delicious elephant dung. Life could not be better. Okay, I'm going to sit tight here a little bit longer and hope that Ribbon doesn't disappear.
So we've just found this African fish eagle who's overlooking basically the last little puddle of water in the Timbavati River. And the reason why we're back in towards the river is pretty much exactly where we saw those little bee eaters a bit earlier on. So the trackers managed to find a leopard that we were looking for. And so we raced around to see if we could find it. And by the looks of things, that leopard might have already crossed the bank, crossed the river onto the other bank. And so now we have to make our way back out and towards the bank of the river. And so this little fish eagle is here, and I'm surprised that it is still hanging around because there's almost no water left. In fact, I'm actually going to move forward. Marion, unfortunately, I don't know if a fish eagle is larger than a bald eagle. I don't know for a fact, but I think a bald eagle is bigger. But I'll have to double check that for you, Marion. A fish eagle, I mean, it's not one of our largest eagles in southern Africa. And so I think a bald eagle is actually bigger. But I'll just double check and make sure. So I just want to show you literally how much water. There's almost none left. And that's why I'm surprised it's still here. But I suppose there's just the last little catfishes that are hanging on for dear life, which would actually make fishing very easy for this fish eagle in such a small little pond like this. I mean, it's just because there's almost nowhere for those fish to go, they're almost trapped. and it is actually looking down. It's really cool to see, because when at the beginning of our safari live, which was, when did we start? Probably in April, May time, or even March, when we saw this fish eagle, every single time we got close, it would fly away from us. And now it's starting to get used to us, and it's letting us get as close to this as possible. So it's really nice because we get such beautiful views of it now.
We've managed to eventually find the first elephants of the morning. Gert and I were just saying this might be the first drive that we've ever done on Pride Lands where we didn't see some, and now we can't claim that because we found a little group. And this little feisty one was giving us all the tantrums. It was actually jumping up onto its back legs and stamping its feet and shaking its head. But now it sees that we're not causing any trouble, so it's calmed right down. There's 2 mamas and 2 babies here, which is really, really nice to see. Not very many other elephants. Oh no, there's a few others around. There's a whole herd, but they're spread quite thinly in this environment because there's not a lot of good food. There's lots of dry grass, but a lot of them are just after the bark on these sickle bushes. This little baby doesn't seem that intent on feeding. It's kind of just investigating everything, touching things and moving around quite a lot. Look where it's going, straight to where the mother is digging her trunk in there to try and smell and feel what is mum looking at. This is how they learn. This is how they learn what's the good food and what's not so good. Look what the mother did there. I don't know if you saw that big elephant. She put that big clump of grass in her mouth, so just watch what she does. And then she wipes it with her trunk to get off the dust. Watch this. I hope she does it again. Oh, she's going to turn her head now. No. Because it was very windy, right? So everything is covered in dust. So they're shaking the grasses a lot and they're wiping them to try and get as much of the dust as possible off, because the dust is not very tasty. The grass is okay, but the dust is not good. It's very... See what she's doing? See what she's doing it again. So she literally just puts it in the mouth, holds it with her teeth, and then with the end of her trunk, she was sort of wiping the grass to try and get rid of any loose, dry stuff that's no good and any dust. Very interesting. This female elephant's actually got very big tusks for a female, quite thick and quite strong tusks. It's quite unusual to see a female elephant with such well-developed tusks. Often longer, but not usually that thick. So she's a powerful female. And she's got, I think, another young calf with her, because you can see she's got quite a lot of milk. So I think she's still suckling quite a lot. I was reading up, apparently young elephants, can be weaned at about 2 to 3 years of age, meaning that they don't drink milk anymore, but they can continue drinking milk all the way until about 10 years old, which is very interesting. It's quite late for an animal to be still drinking milk at 10 years old. That's not common, but it can happen. So you see there the young one is feeding right there where the mother was, knowing exactly what is the good food. Baby elephants are the most amusing little things. I agree with you completely. Baby elephants do... Oh, Salaya. Baby elephants are so cute and so entertaining. They always keep us on our toes. And we have to tell them all the time that they're very scary. Very scary. Because otherwise they wouldn't feel so confident to run up to us and shake their heads and stamp their feet. They do it all the time. Whenever we turn up to a herd and we sit down, all the adults ignore us completely, but all the babies come and stamp around and trumpet and do little burps. And then we have to remind them, yes, you're very scary. Good job. Good job keeping your family safe. I wonder if this is the herd we saw late yesterday evening walking to in Ndlovu Dam by our camp. It was Susan's herd. A little elephant still digging around there, eating whatever's at the base of that. Looks like it was a leadwood tree that's dead now. It's busy feeding on whatever's underneath, protected from the sun. can hear that there's a lot of cracking and crunching happening as these elephants move through this dry environment. Last night we had a big group of elephants in our camp. We had lots of elephants in camp last night. Gert said it makes him feel very calm at night when they surround his tent and are crunching the leaves and branches. Just like these are doing. That big elephant bull Kuma was also in camp. And he's massive. On the vehicle, he's still huge, but when you're on foot and you see him towering above your tent, it's a very humbling experience. Well, this elephant's got a wound on his side, this little one in front of us. I wonder how that happened. It's not a big wound, it's a small wound, but anything that's able to puncture the side of an elephant must have been quite painful. It's probably just a sharp branch or something as it was pushing through the bushes. It doesn't look like a tusk wound, it's not a puncture, it looks like a scratch that's opened up a bit. Now, of course, it's standing perfectly behind a branch that you can't really see it. Just over there. Very interesting. It's not often that we get to see an elephant with a wound like that on its side. Elephant skin is not as tough and thick as some other animals. So a rhino, for example, has a 5 centimeter thick skin on the thickest part, white rhinos, but the elephant's skin is maybe just about 2 to 2.5 centimeters thick at its very thickest points. Oh, very itchy in the ear there. Scratch it. Get it. Oh, it's aggressive. Oh, and then straight in the mouth. Ouch is right. It must have been quite painful, but elephants I think are quite stoic, quite tough. I mean, look at the environment they're living in, right? I mean, it must have been painful, of course, but I'm sure they're very used to getting poked and scratched and stepping on thorns. They're quite used to it. I often see baboons and monkeys and things jumping around in trees full of thorns, and I just wonder, surely that's so uncomfortable, but I guess their skin has become tough and they don't really feel those things anymore. Hear the sound of all that crunching. A flat cat, I don't think oxpeckers will really land on this elephant that much. Remember, we just talked about how sensitive and thin their skin is compared to other tough animals like rhinos. And I've never really seen an oxpecker sitting on an elephant and, hopping around and scratching and feeding. On an animal like a buffalo or a kudu or anything else, certainly the oxpeckers could keep the wound open, trying to get to that plasma fluid that's leaking out the blood. It's really nutritious for an oxpecker, but the elephants wouldn't really stand for it. They've got the means to chase them off and they don't allow them to stay too long, which is interesting because I think it's to do with their little sharp claws on the oxpeckers, because I've seen elephants with egrets sitting on their backs, big tall heron-like birds sitting on the backs of the elephants as they walk through the long grass. This is mostly in open areas like grasslands. But yeah, they didn't seem to mind too much about those birds. Maybe they just don't have their sharp claws. But oxpeckers, not really sitting on the elephants. But flat cats, certainly they could, if they were on the elephants. Oxpeckers are weird, right? They can kind of fill many roles. They can be parasites. If they're keeping the wound open, that's a parasite. It's actually harming the elephant. But they can also be, beneficial if they're removing ticks and eating the dead flesh, that kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting. They can fill every role, every relationship role. Oh, there's a baby elephant going to sleep at the back there. Oh, I don't know if you'll be able to see it from where you are, Gael. I think there's a thorn tree just in front, but just there by that larger elephant down at the back, a little one just lay down in the grass in front. Very awesome. This, for me, is the best way to end a game drive, surrounded by the most spectacular of all of Africa's animals, I think. Just relaxed in our presence, having a great morning. Well, I hope you all also had a fantastic morning. There was lots of cool, fun, exciting stuff. And I can't wait to see what this afternoon is going to bring us. Don't forget to join us 3:30 this afternoon for a spectacular, 3 o'clock, not 3:30, 3 o'clock. for a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for joining us. See you soon.